Welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Olajide Bello and my sign language interpreter is Shegun Ajayi. First, the headlines. 40.2 million households engage in agricultural activities as FG releases 2022-2023 National Agricultural Census Report. President Tinubu nominates General Christopher Musa as new defense minister. Pope Leo on Middle East crisis says that the Middle East needs new approaches to rejecting violence and overcoming divisions as Qatar on Israel-Hamas deal. President Bola Tinubu is calling on Nigerians to continue to reject divisive rhetoric and embrace respect, tolerance and understanding while protecting the country's diversity as a natural national asset. The president made the appeal as he launched the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration emblem and appeal fund. The details of that report by Musbah Dan Wahab will come in our subsequent bulletin. Now moving on, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has nominated former Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Gabriel Musa as Nigeria's new Minister of Defense. The nomination was formally transmitted to the Senate through a letter addressed to Senate President Godswill Akpabio following the resignation of former Minister Mohammed Badaru Abubakar on Monday. General Musa served as Chief of Defense Staff from 2023 to October 2025 and is widely regarded as one of the military's most experienced operational commanders, a recipient of the Colin Powell Award for soldiering. He has held key appointments, including Commanding Officer of the 73 Battalion, Deputy Chief of Staff for Training and Operations, Commander of Sector 3 in the Multinational Joint Task Force, Theatre Commander of Operation Hadinkai, and Commander of the Infantry Corps. Born and educated in Sokoto, he joined the Nigerian Defense Academy in 1986 and was commissioned into the Nigerian Army in 1991. In his letter to the Senate President, Tinubu expressed confidence in General Musa's capacity to strengthen Nigeria's defense system and advance ongoing national security reforms. He would be 58 years in December 25th, 2025. The Senate has proposed the adoption of 112 as Nigeria's single unified emergency number in a bid to streamline response services across the country. Presenting the bill, Senator Abdulaziz Yaradua said the current use of multiple emergency lines by different agencies has slowed response time and created confusion in crisis situations. He argued that adopting 112, already recognized globally, would provide a simpler, more memorable option for citizens to call or text during emergencies. Meanwhile, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, in his capacity as chairman of the sectional committee, has announced a reshuffle affecting 4 standing committees. The leadership of the committees on national security and intelligence, Air Force, national planning and livestock have been reconstituted. The changes take effect immediately as the Senate continues efforts to strengthen legislative oversight and national coordination. And the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, says Nigeria can navigate through the complex challenges it currently faces if every professional, particularly experts, contributes their quota. She was speaking at the 2025 Fellows Lecture of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. Judiciary correspondent Austin Ayebe reports.
The lecture brought together legal minds from different spectrums of the judiciary. The gathering was to listen to the topic of the lecture titled Law, Politics and Economic Development, Nigeria at a Crossroads. Leading the charge in the conversation, Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, says Nigeria can navigate through the complex challenges it faces currently if rule of law is entrenched.
The law is not an abstract ideal confined to courtrooms or classrooms. It is the anchor of political stability, the guarantor of economic confidence, and the framework within which freedoms are exercised and responsibilities enforced.
Guest lecturer George Emoti, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, speaking on the theme, painted a picture of slow development in Nigeria despite good policies and laws in place, saying they have raised the need for Nigeria to speed up development.
At this point, grappling with unprecedented insecurity. And these are things that should not really take the headlines. What we should do is ensure that our military play their role to secure our borders, our police do internal enforcement of law, and then our judiciary stand up to the expectations of the common man.
Chairman of the session, Justice Abdullahi Umaru, and the director of NTA speak on the need for the federal government to help the institute move to its permanent site and also enjoin the government to consider the recommendations of the lecture.
The potential has been there all these years, human capital development and the natural resources that are there. It's just for us to harness it, to show more discipline, to show more political will, to abide by our laws, and the development will come automatically.
They are actionable recommendations for the benefit actually of Nigeria. And I think the federal government of Nigeria should surely actually find a way of translating Judge Etome's recommendations, into actual practice.
The 2025 Fellows Lecture featured the conferment of the Institute's fellowship on 4 legal experts. Among them is 2 former ministers of justice, Kanu Agabi and Bello Adoke, immediate past Director General of NIAS, Taufik Ladan, and Yusuf Ali, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
The rise of new media platforms is reshaping information sharing. The trend, Nigerian Army says, presents both critical challenges and strategic opportunities for military operations. To address possible challenges associated with the new media, the Directorate of Army Public Relations, Nigerian Army School of Public Relations and Information, is holding an engagement with defense correspondents and communication experts to bridge gaps, promote responsible reporting, and establish a sustainable framework.
Where perception often shapes reality, the role of the media is countering misinformation, dispelling fake news, and mobilizing public support for military operations cannot be overemphasized. Through collaboration, understanding, and professionalism, we can ensure that accurate and responsible reporting guides the public narrative, particularly during internal security operations and crisis situations.
The synergy between the military and the media is essential, not only for effective public information management, but also for sustaining public trust and confidence in our military operation. The relationship between the Nigerian Army and the media should be symbiotic, built on trust, mutual respect, understanding, and professionalism.
Deepen the Army's relationship with media stakeholders who remain crucial partners in shaping public understanding of military operations. Culture can rebrand identities within individual member states of ECOWAS and project a common platform that fosters stronger regional ties where nations see themselves more as brothers rather than competitors. At the inaugural lecture of ECOFest in Dakar, Senegal, to advance conversations on the role of culture in regional integration, cultural experts conversed for a prominent role for young people. Kelvin Ehonwaye reports.
Cultural festivals and engagements are not new to communities and even nations within the sub-region. But what ECOWAS and UMEMWA seeks to achieve with this ECOFest, the inaugural edition, is to use culture to redirect how communities and even nations within the sub-region relate with one another, particularly the integration of artificial intelligence to certain aspects of the regional cultural identity. The first edition of ECOFest unfolds against the backdrop of security and socio-political challenges in West Africa. Under the theme, Political Changes and Crisis in West Africa, What Can Culture Do? ECOFES serves as a crucial response to contemporary regional challenges because culture emerges as a borderless space, fostering resilience, dialogue, social cohesion, and reinforcing regional identity.
Our region is facing many crises, so we can use culture to bring peace. You can use culture also to design a new way to collaborate.
In the coming days, activities lined up at EcoFest are expected to showcase West Africa as an exceptional cultural mosaic with over 600 ethnic and linguistic communities through exhibition of arts, music and craftsmanship that seeks to unify in a march towards prosperity as envisaged in ECOWAS Vision 2050. In Dakar, Senegal, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has again condemned the military takeover in Guinea-Bissau and urged the swift restoration of constitutional order. Plus, Britain's Justice Minister on Tuesday unveiled a once-in-a-generation reforms to tackle an emergency in the court system, including plans to scale back jury trials in England and Wales. Chukunonso Mwabweze reports.
ECOWAS delegation led by its chairman and president of Sierra Leone, Julius Maada Bio, after a closed-door meeting with Guinea-Bissau's new military government, called for the country's halted electoral process to resume without delay. Guinea-Bissau's foreign minister, Joe Bernardo Vieira II, stated that it has been made very clear that ECOWAS will not abandon the country at this very difficult time, and we continue to engage with the bloc to find a solution as quickly as possible to restore constitutional order. His Sierra Leonean counterpart, Musa Kaba, described the discussions as fruitful, saying both sides has set out their respective concerns.
On the part of ECOWAS, the chair of the authority condemning the coup and calls for the immediate restoration of constitutional order, which includes allowing the electoral process to a logical conclusion. Delegations from Senegal, Cape Verde and Togo traveled to Bissau as part of the ECOWAS mission, which comes ahead of a regional summit on December 14. And in UK, Britain's Justice Minister on Tuesday unveiled a once-in-a-generation package of reforms to tackle an emergency in the court system, including plans to scale back jury trials in England and Wales. David Lammy told the Parliament that the changes are desperately needed to prevent a collapse of trust in the backlogged criminal courts.
When victims are left waiting for years, justice is effectively denied to them. And this is a betrayal of our legal heritage, and it's a betrayal of the victims themselves. These reforms are bold, Mr. Speaker, but they're necessary. I'm clear that jury trials will continue to be the cornerstone of the system for the most serious offences.
Among the main changes is the creation of new swift courts within the criminal justice system, where a judge alone will decide the verdict instead of juries for cases which face a sentence of up to 3 years. The government says the backlog of outstanding criminal cases is set to reach 100,000 by 2028 unless urgent action is taken. Chukunonso Mwabweze, NTA News.
Pope Leo XIV says that the Middle East needs new approaches to rejecting violence and overcoming divisions, while urging Christians in the region to have courage. Just as Gaza talks mediator Qatar is optimistic that Israel and Hamas could be brought to a new phase of negotiations for a peaceful deal in the Palestinian territory. Chukunonso Mwabweze has the details.
Pope Leo made the appeal on Tuesday in Lebanon on his third day in the country at the end of his first trip abroad as pontiff after arriving on Sunday from Turkey. The pontiff said he wanted to come as a pilgrim of hope to the Middle East, imploring God for the gift of peace for what he called this beloved land marked by instability, wars and suffering.
The Middle East needs new approaches in order to reject the mindset of revenge and violence, to overcome political, social, and religious divisions, and to open new chapters in the name of reconciliation and peace.
He also made a heartfelt appeal to those who hold political and social authority in Lebanon and in all countries marked by war and violence to listen to the cry of their people who are calling for peace. Pope Leo, at the conclusion of a mass in Beirut, attended by about 1,500 people, urged Christians of the Levant, citizens of the Middle East countries, to have courage as the whole church looks to them with affection and admiration. Before this service, the Pope prayed at the site of a catastrophic port explosion on August 4, 2020, which killed more than 220 people and injured over 6,500. At a moment to those killed, with shipping containers, piles of rubble, and the facilities devastated grain silos visibly nearby, the Pope lit a lamp after praying silently. Meanwhile, Qatar said on Tuesday it hoped Israel and Hamas could be brought to a new phase of negotiations for a peace deal in the Palestinian territory following the October ceasefire agreement.
As we have always said, the logistical situation in Gaza would certainly make it difficult to reach this result, but we have reached this result right now, and I think, as we have stated, that this should never have been, a hamper in front of moving to stage 2, and we think that we are working very closely, of course, and we think that we should be pushing the parties to stage 2 very soon.
Under the second phase of the deal, which gained UN backing in November, Israel is to withdraw from its positions in the territory and an interim authorities to govern Gaza, while there will be a deployment of an international stabilization force. Chukunon Sonwabweze, NTA News.
And you're watching the news on NTA International. More reports when we return.
Petroleum Refineries and Petrochemicals confirms and reaffirms commitment to supply Nigerian domestic PMS requirements. Dangote Refinery is ready and able to supply 1.5 billion litres of PMS per month, followed by 1.7 billion litres per month from February 2026 onwards. Dangote Refinery seeks the support of Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to host its officials on site at our refinery from 1st December to validate and publish our daily supply volumes. In the spirit of full transparency to the public, we are willing to publish our daily production and stock volumes online and in the print media. We seek the full support of Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to allow Dangote Refinery to import crude, feedstock, and blending components unhindered, as well as support the lifting of our products by vessel. We continue to experience delays in vessel clearance, which impacts not only the refinery operations but also our customers, adding unnecessary costs and inefficiencies. We will appreciate your usual consideration and support to secure Nigeria's domestic fuel security and abundance. Allow the Nigeria First policy to work to the benefit of all Nigerians. Announcer David Bird, Executive Officer, Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals, FZE.
Thanks for being there. The federal government has officially released the 2023 National Agricultural Sample Census report. The census, conducted by the National Bureau of Statistics in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Bank, reveals that Nigeria had approximately 40.2 million agricultural households in 2023. For more details, here's Musa Baba Aliyu.
It is a 310-page document detailing findings of the National Agricultural Sample Census 2022-2023, which provides data on agricultural activities during the wet and dry seasons. The report shows that a total of 75.6 million hectares of farmland were cultivated nationwide during the farming cycle. During the wet season, maize recorded the largest planted and harvested area, covering 13.5 million hectares. Cassava led in total production with 21.9 billion kilograms harvested. Oranges achieved the highest yield per hectare at 18,257 kilograms. Goat rearing remains the most common livestock activity practiced by 18.8 million households. Poultry farming is also widespread, with 15.3 million households raising local chickens and 5.2 million rearing exotic breeds. Fish farming remains relatively limited, with fewer than 1 million households engaged in the activity.
As a ministry, we will apply these findings across the core levers of agricultural transformation, ensuring that our programs remain data-driven, impact-focused, and aligned with the aspirations of the Renewed Hope agenda.
As Nigeria advances towards food security, climate-smart agriculture, improved access to finance, and more competitive value chains, these survey findings will play a critical role in shaping policies, guiding investments, and steering development programs.
The report is expected to serve as a critical tool for evidence-based policy formulation, agricultural planning, and targeted interventions to support farmers across the country. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Nigerian journalists have been described as the nation's primary defense against authoritarian rule, as the federal government assures that press freedom remains a non-negotiable pillar of the Tinubu administration. Vice President Kashim Shettima said this at the 2025 conference and annual general meeting of the International Press Institute, Nigeria, in Abuja, themed Addressing Media Repression and Safeguarding Democratic Accountability in Nigeria. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
This book of infamy by IPI. A round of applause, please. Thank you.
This is the unveiling of the IPI Nigeria's Book of Infamy, and Vice President Kashim Shettima in the midst of these professionals who fought and are still putting endless efforts in the cause of ensuring press freedom.
You have confronted those who sought to suffocate this oxygen of our democracy, and in moments of national confusion, you step forward to correct misinformation.
Journalists have played a stabilizing role during moments of national tension by correcting misinformation and holding power to account, and Vice President Kashim Shettima affirmed the federal government's commitment to protecting media practitioners from harassment and intimidation.
Our job is to report events as they are, and this cannot be easy without interests colliding. Yet the difficulty of the task does not diminish your essence, it only affirms your indispensability. We often fail to appreciate the Nigerian media enough, but the truth is unmistakable. It is impossible, utterly impossible, to have a successful dictator in Nigeria. And it is not for lack of trying. Never in our history has any person or government succeeded in suppressing the media permanently. You have stood firm in the coldest nights of national adversity, and you have outlived those who attempted to place their voice upon your freedom. You have been the life-size mirror of our nation, reflecting us not as we wish to be seen, but as we truly are.
He praised Nigeria's media community for its historic resilience in confronting authoritarian tendencies, stating that a successful dictatorship is impossible in the country due to the press vigilance, challenging media practitioners to maintain ethical standards, warning against those who fabricate stories and refuse retractions when confronted with evidence. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, said the responsibility and commitment of the present leadership of the Nigerian media must uphold the presentation of facts, assuring that the Tinubu administration operates on the fundamental principles of an independent press, in acknowledgement of the fact that a free press is the amplifier of an engaged citizenry.
The balance between national security, combating misinformation, and upholding absolute press freedom is a complex one, navigated by nations across the globe, not only in Nigeria. Our approach to this complexity is the most telling proof of our restraint.
Journalism is a tough, risky, and selfless public service. And if they get nothing for their sacrifice for society, journalists at least deserve respect and protection. Therefore, any further attack on journalists will be fiercely resisted going forward.
The professionals called for genuine collaboration among stakeholders in the country in promoting and enhancing independent journalism in Nigeria in the face of daunting challenges. In Abuja, Brahman Jibrila, NTA News.
And as to our early story, that President Bola Tinubu is calling on Nigerians to continue to reject decisive and rhetoric And embrace respect, tolerance and understanding while protecting the country's diversity as a natural national asset. The President made the PLRC launch the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration emblem and appeal fund. State House correspondent Musbad and Wahab reports. Details of that report will come much later in our subsequent bulletin. Now let's join Olumide Eguntola for sports update.
Team Nigeria is topping the medals table at the ongoing West African Para Games in Abuja, Ogun State. The Nigerian contingents have garnered a total of 25 medals of 9 gold, 11 silver and 5 bronze. Second on the log is Benin Republic with 2 gold medals. Team Nigeria is hoping to sweep the entire medals in men's and mixed wheelchair basketball as hostilities continue Tuesday with a date with their Ghanaian counterparts at the Alake Sports Center in Ikeja. In football, World Football Governing Body FIFA has reversed its earlier directive to European clubs to release players for the 2025 AFCON on or before December 8. FIFA confirmed that clubs are now permitted to retain their African players until December 15, which will give players opportunity to feature in important domestic and continental fixtures before joining their national teams for pre-tournament camping. In the English Premier League, Tuesday match day 14 fixtures indicate that second place Manchester City will play away to 15th place Fulham. Bournemouth will host Everton. Newcastle will lock arms with Tottenham, while 5th place Brighton with 22 points will entertain Aston Villa, 4th on the log with 24 points. In the Spanish La Liga Santander, Barcelona will clash with Atletico Madrid. In tennis, New Zealand will host Bosnia-Herzegovina in a Davis Cup Group 1 tie at Mackay Stadium in Kensington from the 7th to 8th February 2026. The fixtures follows New Zealand's recent victory over Georgia in Palmerston North, a result that secured promotion to World Group 1. The tie will be the first Davis Cup event in the region. With Sports Update, Olumide Eguntola, NTA News.
And up next is the weather update. And this is where we're in the news at this time. I'm Olajide Bello, and my sign language interpreter has been Shegun Ajayi. Good evening.